Clarence is just a unique human being, and from something about him, just people just love, like grandmothers, 10-year-old children, everyone just can see that Clarence is a talented human being, and he's very, very popular on YouTube. And I would have met Clarence initially well before he was ever popular on YouTube, or he was barely, I think he was posting somewhat on YouTube at the time, but it was a very niche following.
One of the things I really like and respect about what you've done is like you've built your own audience completely independently. You didn't try to lean in on the kind of big online following that Clarence already had to kind of give yourselves a head start. So for people that aren't aware, could you kind of explain who Clarence is, how you got to know him, and whether it was a deliberate decision to kind of build Sika Strength independently of his audience?
So for anyone listening, Clarence is probably, in no, like, modesty aside, probably 1 in a billion in terms of talented athletes. He's easily like top 0.001% of talented people in the world in terms of just general athleticism and athletic endeavors. He is up there with any of the top athletes who ever lived in the last century and a half, and I think he's just, people internationally and nationally, abroad, everywhere, just intuitively understand that Clarence is just a unique human being, and from something about him, just people just love, like grandmothers, 10-year-old children, everyone just can see that Clarence is a talented human being, and he's very, very popular on YouTube. And I would have met Clarence initially well before he was ever popular on YouTube, or he was barely, I think he was posting somewhat on YouTube at the time, but it was a very niche following, and he just went to he trained in the same gym as I did in University of Limerick in Ireland, and just met him one evening, and just, obviously there was like 10 weightlifters in the country at the time, so when 2 weightlifters met each other, we're both young weightlifters. He had a couple of years experience on me and a lot of kilos on me as well in terms of his lifts, but we both started training together fairly regularly, and that was, I think that's nearly a decade ago now, and obviously his lifting progressed to incredible proportions, and along with his YouTube following and his internet fame, and we obviously would have just trained with him regularly, and my lifting ain't so bad myself compared to other people watching him, so would have just featured on his videos because I would just gone training with him. And I think when we started Sika, it was something we definitely wanted to make sure was very, very separate. It was something that stand on our own legs. So in the short term, it may have meant that we wouldn't have got as many views or followers or downloads on a podcast or, subscribers on YouTube. But in the long run, it would let us stand on our own feet. So we were very, very, very conscious, and still are, to remain, keep things separate from Clarence. I suppose, one, we wanted to do it just to prove a point to, that whatever success we had nothing to do with Clarence's internet fame, our association with him. And it's just for a point of ego from ourselves. We just wanted to prove, realistically, the part of it is that we just wanted, no one could ever come to us and say, oh, you only have a following because Clarence shared your stuff or had you in your videos, so we were very, very conscious of that, and it was a very definite thought process that we just didn't want. I don't know if anyone listens to Gary Vee, and it's a bit cringy. I think he's a bit of a meme at the moment, but I think he gives a lot of good advice. But he talked about when he left his father's wine shop, that he made sure he took no money because he wanted to prove to people he could do stuff. So in a less kind of less aggressive way, we just were like, no, we're not going to use Clarence because we need to do our own thing, because if we made loads of videos being like Podcast with Clarence or YouTube training with Clarence Kennedy or whatever, the short-term views would be great because people would only be there to watch him, but would they stay and watch the rest of it? So it's a very short-sighted decision, and for what we, what our business does, it's also of no use to us for people just to want to watch it. People need to buy into what we're talking about. So the short-term, the extra $10 you might get from YouTube views wouldn't really benefit us that much at all. So it was definitely a conscious decision from a couple of different points of view to not involve it. And it's unlikely we will for a long time. I think maybe when we're a lot bigger and we can be confident that it's, we might do exclusive interview with Clarence Kennedy or something, maybe like 100,000 subscribers time or something like that. Maybe we might do it, but until then, it's not. It's just something we definitely wanted to draw a line in the sand with, so we could.
Yeah, definitely seems like a wise move. And yeah, it's. A lot of people who are interested in the short-term gains might maybe go for that, but as you said, if you're trying to build a business where you need people to buy into you as coaches, then it makes much more sense.